there, I'm Jen, and this is the first of two videos where I'm going to show you the stamps I collected on my trip to Japan. I'm going to do a flip through of the stamps that I did manage to collect, and I'm going to talk about how to collect them and also how to plan ahead if you are planning to travel to Japan and collect these as a souvenir. This video will be looking at駅スタンプ, which is stamps found at train stations. In the next video I'll be looking at the wont, which I'll give you a sneak preview of here, which is the red stamp with the calligraphy that you can collect at temples and shrines. So watch out for my next video on how to collect those. So on my trip to Japan, which was only 10 days, I really enjoyed collecting both the駅スタンプ and the wont as souvenirs. It really enhanced the trip for me. And it's not something you have to do while you're travelling around Japan, but there are just so many stamps available that it would be a shame not to. So what do you need to collect these eki stamps, these train station stamps? Any kind of paper will do. I collected my stamps in this notebook from the Travellers Company. I bought it at the Travellers Factory store in Narita Airport because I had seen this one existed. It's a collaboration that they did with the Tokyo Metro. And I knew I was flying into Narita and I wanted to visit the Travellers Factory store there, and I wanted to get a notebook to collect all of my stamps in one, and this one seemed perfect for me. So it's a passport size. There's a sneak preview for you, and so it was a great size to be able to collect the stamps. There are books that you can get in Japanese bookstores that have like a little some lines at the bottom where you can write sort of station information, what date you collected the stamp. You could just use loose sheets of paper, literally anything that you can stamp, you can collect eki stampu on. Now you can take your stamp collecting to any kind of level you want. You can just carry a notebook around, and when you see a stamp you can grab it. Or if you're like me and you like to plan things a little bit more, I'm going to go into detail about how I planned out where to find the stamps, because there is information out there that helps you find the stamps in the stations, because some of the stations are huge and the stamps are held at different exits or they're in offices. And then I did also collect some other just general stamps that were either at tourist locations or in stores, so we'll have a look at that as well. I did also see some people at stamping stations with their own ink pads with colours that matched the colours that are put out for that station stamp, because sometimes the ink does dry out. I didn't want to do that. I didn't even know it was a thing until I saw it in the flesh. But I think that part of the fun is getting the stamp in the condition that it is in, whether it's freshly inked or it's a bit damaged. It's just like, it shows the love and wear and tear that people have for collecting these kinds of stamps. So I didn't think that was necessary, and you absolutely do not need to carry around loads of ink pads to be able to collect these stamps. So let's have a look at the stamps that I collected. They're not in perfect order. I was a bit flustered when I got out of the airport. So actually this isn't my first stamp. My first stamp was this one, which is the Narita Airport Terminal 1 stamp for the Keisei Skyliner train. Again, different train companies will have their own stamps. So this was within the ticket line, so you needed to have a ticket to the Keisei Skyliner to be able to get this stamp. It has the really creepy panda mascot, which I kind of love. But you can see that I had just gotten off my flight, gone through immigration. I was a bit stressed and I saw the stamp station. I lost my train ticket immediately, so I just sort of did a very light stamp on that one. And I just flipped to a few pages in, so it's not actually my first stamp. So if we go back, this is the Tokyo Station stamp. You can see it has an image of like the top of the station building there. I did also do a little bit of test stamping with a Pikachu stamp there, and you can see what I mean by there's wear and tear on the stamp. So the edges of the rubber stamps actually wear away, so you can't see the whole station name. So I recommend as well, if you don't get the whole station name, or it's a bit faint, that you take a picture at the station or you write it down so you can remember which stamp is from which station. This one is from Shibuya Station. You can see again it's very worn down. You've got the crossing and the paw. And then they also had another stamp which is like the station's mascot. So I also stamped that little goat, question mark, there. On our second day we went to see Mount Fuji, and we actually went on a coach tour that visited I think 5 spots sort of around Mount Fuji and then finally up on Mount Fuji's 5th station. So we visited the Arakurayama Sengen Park. There was this, literally pictured here, this little truck information booth where we got this stamp, and they were very lovely to talk to there, and that's where the pagoda is with the view of Mount Fuji. And then our meeting spot after this visit was at the Shimoyoshida station. So while we were waiting for the coach to come back, we just stamped in the station. So that one's actually quite a simple, I think, design. And then we were in the village. The Oshino Village Tourist Information Centre had all of these stamps. It's the, there's a famous village near Mount Fuji which has 8 ponds, and there was a stamp for each pond, and they actually had corresponding numbers, so you had to put the right ink on the right stamp. And then they had this sort of bigger stamp here, and this one about the bird with 2 heads. So those were really, really lovely to collect, and they had other touristy information in there which was really helpful. And then when we were on the 5th station on Mount Fuji, it was really cold. I didn't wear the right clothes for that. There's a post office, and there's a stamping station right next to the post office, which I got these 3 stamps. This really cute one with Mount Fuji, and then it has all the details there about the 5th station and rest house. And there were 2, there was I think a purple and a red ink, so these ones were kind of mixed together because they didn't have numbers like the ponds did. So we stayed near Suidobashi Station, and it's near Tokyo Dome, which is why there's the baseball bat there. They also have, sometimes at the stations, they will have pieces of paper with other things printed on them. Let me just clip that. And so this one had this platypus. I assume it's a mascot related to Tokyo Dome. So they'll have these pieces of paper on the stamping station where you can collect the stamps. So this one I didn't actually stamp on, but you see he's got the baseball there. So those are nice to collect as well as in your main book. And then also near where we were staying, there was the Koishikawa Korakuen Gardens. I'm trying to pronounce everything correctly. And they had a stamp rally on, and they actually have, I won't be able to fit it in, but they had this huge flyer about the event that was happening, because there are lots of gardens, so the 4 colours stamp rally, and so you had space to stamp all of the different gardens, and they had a map here of all the different gardens where you could collect the stamps. I didn't know about the stamp rally until I got into the garden, so I only got the 1 stamp on that one. But it's really nice to, you know, turn up to a place you're visiting anyway and there's a stamp available. So this one has the date as well, so they must change the date in the stamps each day. This was just by the entrance. And then here are some more. So these ones are quite different from the JR stamps. So Shibuya, that's a JR East company stamp. And then these ones on the metro are huge. And they're, I think these ones were sort of self-inked. So it's like a big plastic stamp rather than the wooden with the rubber stamp. Now, this one is from the Ushigomi Yanagicho station on the Uedo line. And I used this station when I was going to the Yayoi Kusama Museum. And then this one is from the Ueno Okachimachi station. So there's different, so there's Ueno, there's Okachimachi, and then there's Ueno Okachimachi station. So there's quite a few stations in this area. And because it's by Ueno Park, where the zoo is with the pandas, you get the lovely little panda. I really like this layout here. It looks really, really good. The colours are great. And then inside Ueno Park, there's the Ueno Park Administration Office. and they had lots of stamps that we could collect, including this one here, which I did across the 2 pages. And then this little one, there's lots of temples in the gardens and the panda there. And then they did also have extra sheets of paper for you to use to collect. So it had this panda on it, so I collected those 2 on those sheets of paper. And then they had an A4 giant picture of a panda, so I just stamped on that one. It's really fun, and that's completely free. All of these stamps are completely free to collect, so I really recommend, if you see a stamp, that you collect it. These ones on the right here are from the Tokyo National Museum. Again, these ones have the date that you visit. One is upside down. I did a really great job. And here you can see the famous print, which they actually have like a stamping station where you build up the layers of this very famous print, which is, the details of the print is there. I won't say it all. And it is actually a postcard, so you could send it, but you sort of stamp one colour after another, and you end up with the print there. So that's a really fun thing to do. You could do this on your paper if you really lined it up properly, but it has like a slot that you put the paper in, so it lines it up accurately each time. So it's better just to do that one on the sheet of paper that they give you. Here we have the Kurame Station stamp, and I went to Kurame to visit MT Lab to buy some washi tape, which was a really an overwhelming experience, but I recommend visiting. And here we have the JR Akachimachi Station stamp. So like I said, there's the subway Akachimachi Ueno Station, and then this is the JR East Akachimachi Station stamp. This one is quite faint, but again, that's part of the fun, is that you never know whether you're going to get a clear picture. And I did actually forget which one this was, and I had to look it up, and it's Yoyogi. And this is like, well, I did go in December, so I don't know if this is just for December or if it is like their mascot, but it was really cute, so I stamped that one as well, of course. Here we have the Suidobashi metro station, and this one did have a piece of paper that you could stamp on as well, so it has the details about the station. It's Mita subway line Suidobashi Station. And this one is Shibakoen Station, which is near Zozoji Temple and Tokyo Tower. So we also did visit Zozoji Temple to get the Goshuin stamp. This is not the Goshuin stamp, however it is in the area where you wait after you've submitted your Goshuin to be written. You do not put this stamp into your Goshuin. It has to be separate. It's just sort of a tourist stamp, which has, again, that sort of similar picture to the subway stamp. This is the Asakusa Station stamp, so you can see the big temple gate on there. I didn't see the roller coaster, but it's on the stamp there. Here we went to the World Cultural Heritage Centre, and they did have a piece of paper there, the Tourist Information Centre, where you can get a really good view over the temple there, and you can also see Skytree from the sort of viewing platform in this centre, so I'd really recommend going. Here we can see, and I'll get onto it, but this lovely cute image is actually from when we visited Tokyo Skytree, and I'm very thankful to myself that I got it on the actual card that was provided. There was a stamp rally, so there were different levels you could collect them at. We went in the evening, we hadn't eaten anything, it took ages to get up there, so we just couldn't be bothered to collect any more stamps, so we just waited in line. There was a queue for this, and got this one stamp, so I stamped it on the card that they provided, which is really sweet, and I also stamped it here. However, dun dun dun, this one. So I went to Kiddieland in Harajuku, and they'd obviously just recently put more ink onto their stamp. I should have tested it out first before I went straight into the middle of my book, but it's a story to tell, but unfortunately it did leak onto the next pages, so I just sort of skipped this page. And this is the Harajuku station stamp. Here we have the Akihabara stamp, and they also had a sheet of paper you could use. There's like a donut on it. There's this dog with glow sticks and a bandana. I don't know what it's all about, but it's nice to get the little sheet of paper if you can. And then finally I left from Narita Airport Terminal 2. So they had a different stamp, and again this one was quite messy, and I did it twice. Gosh, it's such a mess. This panda, does it creep anyone else out? I love Japan mascots, but sometimes they're a little bit suspicious looking. So that is the end of my trip. Those are all the stamps I managed to collect. I counted it up and I think I got about 26 stamps. So over 10 days, 26 stamps. I think that was a really good effort. Now I did also carry around another notebook to stamp, and that is my travel journal, which is this traveler's notebook, limited edition notebook from Narita Airport. And I had seen online people who did sort of spreads in their notebooks with overlapping stamps. So I carried this everywhere. It got a little bit scuffed up. And on the back I did actually stamp it at the Traveller's Factory Tokyo Station store. And you can see it got a little bit of water damage. But this is the mess that I made, overlapping all the stamps. I just thought it was a fun way to sort of fill these pages, and it really shows you sort of how many places you went, so that was fun to collect. And then I did also, I will say that like stores like the Traveller's Factory and other stores will have their own stamps, so I got the lightweight paper insert from, again, the Traveller's Factory, so I could stamp all of the stamps so that I could cut them out and use them in travel journals and other journaling. So if you don't mind, I didn't carry this one all the time, but if you don't mind carrying a few notebooks around with you while you're traveling, you can really collect some lovely stamps to use for your journaling as well. There we go. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about how I planned ahead, because I knew that some of the train stations would be massive, like Tokyo Station, Shinjuku, Shibuya. All of those are very, very busy stations with lots of exits. So ahead of my trip I watched as many videos as I could about Eki Stampu, and I somehow discovered this website called stamp.funakia.com. It's a Japanese website that also has a beta version in English. However, I would just recommend that you use something like Google Chrome to auto-translate it, because I don't know if there's any differences in the information provided. The website lists all of the active stamps available in stations across Japan, not just Tokyo, with the station address and the location of the stamp. So it will tell you what exit you can find the stamp at, which is really, really handy, so you're not rushing around to lots of different exits and wasting all of your time there just looking for the stamps. So when I was planning my itinerary, I would sort of see what the routes were that I was going to take, and I would just look at what stations I would be getting in and out of and just note down where I could find the stamp. I wasn't that committed. I wasn't like, I have to get the stamp or else, but it really, really helped to know in advance that if I went to a certain exit, the stamp was likely to be there, and I didn't have to ask because I'm a bit shy. I can speak a little bit of Japanese, but when I'm in the country where there's native speakers, I just get really, really shy. You can just sort of show your notebook to the green office, which is the ticket office, and say Eki Stampu. There is like different sort of phrases that you can learn, but if you just look really lost and show them that you want to look for an Eki Stampu, they will help you. And sometimes the stamps are in the ticket office, and using that website, it will tell you if it's in the office and you have to ask for it. So I am quite a detailed planner, and you may not want to go this far, but after I looked it up on the stamp website, there is a lot of Google Maps Street View inside of the train stations in Japan. So even though it might be a couple years out of date, you can actually drop a pin into the station where it says that the stamp would be, and you could see if it has been captured in a Google Street View, and maybe that will help you find the location. Even if it has moved, it's probably going to be in the same area. So that was real dedication on my part. You may not want to go that far, but it just really helped me know my way around the stations as well. And I found that to be really, really helpful to sort of make sure that I didn't feel like stressed out and lost. So maybe you want to incorporate that into your travel planning as well. So that's my flip through and my advice on how to collect Eki stampu in Japan. I'd love to know if you have collected these kinds of stamps on your travels in Japan, or if you're planning to collect them when you do visit Japan. And let me know in the comments if you have any favourites from what I've collected, or if you have a favourite stamp that you've collected on your travels. I think my favourite is the Shibuya station stamp with the crossing, and you've got the little paw for Hachiko. If you visit the statue, you can see the dog that waited for its owner. That was really cute. So thank you so much for watching. If you're interested in collecting the other type of stamp that I collected in Japan, the Goshuin, these ones again, a little sneak preview. Woohoo! These are the stamps that you can collect at shrines and temples across Japan. Just look out for my other video on Goshuin. And I hope you have a great trip, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.